Education was always really important to me. When I was 7, I was assigned to memorize Hamlet's speech to the players. Now this was a challenge, not just because of my age, but because we were recent immigrants. My Hungarian father and French mother had first settled in Canada, where my younger sister and I grew up speaking only French. And on arriving in Hollywood when I was 6, I had to learn English, and my mom enrolled me in a drama class. I launched into my first assignment with gusto. My father sat patiently while we translated each line of Shakespeare's speech. It was one of the few times I remember him spending a peaceful time with me. We looked up almost every word, and I slowly typed each letter on an old black typewriter. It took the whole week, but I did memorize the speech. In fact, I was the only child in the class to do that, and though I was the youngest, the teacher cast me in the lead role of Ophelia. School became my refuge from a home that was often chaotic and violent. My parents had 3 more children, and with 5 kids in the home, they struggled. My dad worked full-time and went to school at night. My mom scrambled to take care of all of us while in a new country. My father turned out to be ill-equipped to be a parent. He exploded at the impossibility of getting unruly children to behave, and he often lashed out verbally and physically. My mother yelled in frustration, never seemed quite able to keep up. I escaped the chaos at school. There, all was orderly. We arrived at a certain hour, sat calmly at our desks while teachers talked. We knew what was expected, and I did well at it. A red A or A+ at the top of my paper let me know I was okay. And so I proceeded through school, a nearly straight A student who loved to sit at the front of the class near the teacher. This seemed to be a path that would lead to my future. This was borne out in high school when I did exceptionally well on the PSAT test and I was named a semi-finalist for the National Merit Scholarship. I received mails from schools across the country. I kept the growing piles of letters and brochures in a box under my desk in homeroom. I perused them like someone might luxury real estate listings or travel brochures, a grand buffet of tantalizing choices. But I did notice the tuition, and I showed them to my dad. "Don't worry," he said. "I will pay for it." "Are you sure?" I asked. We were always stretched for cash. I couldn't believe my father could afford this. "Yes, no problem." And then there was the promise of the National Merit Scholarship. It would pay full tuition at any school in the country for 4 years. At that time, I wasn't guaranteed to get it, but I had a good chance. So I perused the brochures, dreaming of sipping sherry with a professor in a book-lined room at Oxford, or strolling down the vibrant streets of UC Berkeley, or going to an interesting job through the work-study program at Antioch College. But as the time came to start taking action on these choices, the gears began to stick. To advance from semi-finalist to finalist in the National Merit Scholarship, my parents would need to apply for citizenship. At 17, I was too young to do that. This seemed like just a formality, but my father hesitated. After many arguments, he put his foot down. I never understood why. "I am against the Vietnam War," he said, though he had never mentioned this before and he was generally quite conservative. "Anyway, you don't need a scholarship because I am paying." After several assurances of this, though, my father told me one day, "I decided I'm not giving you money for college. If I have any, I'm giving it to your brothers." He explained only boys need to go to college because they have to support families. For me, it was just a luxury. I went into a tailspin. How could this be? For as long as I could remember, I'd planned to go to college. But my father seemed to still be breathing the air of a small village in Hungary. Though I ranted, I could never get him to understand the world in which I was living. I returned to the idea of financial aid, but the financial statement I gave him sat blank on his desk for months. It became a source of bitter arguments. My mom urged him to fill it out. He kept saying he would. But then, again, the sudden turnaround. "I'm not filling it out," he announced one day. "We don't need charity." I learned that in order to apply for financial aid without a statement, I would need to be an emancipated minor. And for that, I would need to show financial independence for 3 years. This seemed like an impossible eternity. So as deadlines for colleges loomed, we went to Lake Arrowhead for winter break. This was a rare, fun outing for my family. But this time, a cloud of what would happen after high school hung over me. We sat in the cabin's small living room, icicles dangling picturesquely from the window, a greeting card scene of snow-covered hills and pine trees outside. But inside, I argued with my dad about filling out the financial form. My mom pleaded, "Why won't you do it? It's so important to her." But he refused. Finally, my arguments exhausted, I flung myself to the floor, wailing, screaming, writhing. My dad didn't know what to make of it. He made an awkward quip, attempting to get my mother to laugh. I raged all the more. What would it take to convince him? My whole body poured into this outburst, but he wouldn't be moved. Back at home one night, in our small bathroom, I looked at myself in the mirror. I took a bottle of aspirin out of the medicine cabinet, and I took 1 tablet, and 2, 3, 4, 5, till the entire bottle of 50 to 100 tablets was gone. And then I went to bed. My mother came in a little later, worried. "There's an empty bottle of aspirin in the trash. Did you have a headache?" "Oh, that bottle was almost empty," I lied. And wanting to believe me, she left. As you can see, my story didn't end there. In the morning, I woke up. I looked at the white ceiling over my head for a long time, and I thought, it didn't work. What do I do now? And that's where my epiphany came. The strategies I'd been trying up till then hadn't worked. My father wouldn't help me. There had to be another way. So I went through my day. My head felt like it was filled with cotton. My skin lacked sensation as if it was made out of wax, and my ears were ringing. No one noticed anything was wrong. But inside, I had changed. I was a blank slate, ready for something new. I decided to ask my English teacher for advice, and she advised me to take secretarial classes at the local junior college, get a job, and earn the money for college. And that is what I did. After 9 months as a typist, I earned enough money to go to Cal State Northridge that fall. So in September, I enrolled with the rest of my classmates for my first year at college, the same as my classmates who were going to colleges around the country. Very proud that I could start at the same time they were all starting. It wasn't easy, but I learned that I have the will and the need to succeed. I had taken the steering wheel from someone else's hands into my own, and I was driving.